The draw for the quarterfinals is now known following the conclusion of the last round of the group stage in men's doubles and women's doubles. So in this video, I'm going to take a look at the matchups in the quarterfinal matches, and perhaps we can get a hint as to who is going to enter the final matches in the battle for medals at the Tokyo Olympics. Now let's take a quick look at how the group stage finished, and we've known the result in the mixed doubles for some time because the group stage play finished one day earlier than men's and women's doubles. So here is the final standings, and significant was it that Marcus Ellis and Lawrence Smith, they played a really good match against Puravaranukroho and Taylor Chanachai. So they stunned the third seeds to top Group B, and also Yuta Watanabe and Arisa Higashino, they defeated the fourth seeds Praveen Jordan and Melati Octavianti, and in quite convincing fashion, I must say. That was where I thought maybe Jordan and Octavianti could regroup and get their game going again. That didn't happen. Tang Chun Man and Steen they defeated Mark Lamsfuss and Isabel Hertrich in a brilliant match, direct playoff for the qualification to the knockout stage. In women's doubles, things ended out pretty much by the book, except for Group A, where Poli and Rahayu got a win over Fukushima and Hirota. They've normally had trouble with the top-seeded Japanese pair, but in all fairness, we must say that it looked like Hirota, even though she looks like she's getting more comfortable, then the knee brace that she wears on her right knee seemed to harm her movement a little bit. But take nothing from Poli and Rahayu. They played a great game and had a really good plan in the third game of that match. Matsumoto and Nakahara defeated Peak and Seinen to top the group, and Chen Qingchen and Jia Fan also won a hard-fought match against Kim and Kong. Now in Group C, there was drama as Li Sohee and Shin Xiong Chen, they needed a win against Due and Li Yinhui to qualify for the quarterfinals. They were helped a little bit by Grania Somerville and Sechana Mapasa, who sprung a surprise earlier on in the order of play when they defeated Sarah Thyssen and Maiken Fruergaard, who played so well the day before, where they had defeated the Koreans. So they knew going into the decisive match that it was a match for the number one spot in the group, and the Koreans, they played magnificently today, so they had a scare against the Danes, and they'd really upped their game and looked impressive against Du and Lee, who totally fell out after losing a close first game. In the men's doubles, it also was pretty much as expected, but the way it ended up like that is significant. Chirag Shetty and Ranki Reddy, they needed help from Gideon and Sukamuljo to qualify. They needed the world number one to defeat Li Yang and Wang Qilin, which they'd always done in the previous encounters. But this time, the pair from Chinese Taipei, they were really determined and started out really well, whereas the Minions perhaps didn't have their best day and didn't have their A game for the match. And Wang Qilin and Li Yang, they could spring a surprise by defeating the top seeds. That also meant that Ranki Reddy and Shetty could no longer qualify for the quarterfinal stage when they played their match against Lane and Wendy, but they showed great spirit and won that match to secure the third spot in the group. Group C, reasonably uneventful, as was Group B. The decisive matches were played 2-3 days ago, the first day of competition, when Astrup and Rasmussen defeated the European champions Ivanov and Sosunov. Endo and Watanabe defeated Astrup and Rasmussen in the last match of the group and did so in style. The Danes had no chance in that match. In Group D, Choi Sol-ju and Seo Sung-jae, they had a tough task ahead of them. They had to defeat Asan and Sechewan. They've done so before, but they had to win convincingly, and in the end it ended up with a defeat for the two Koreans and no qualification for the quarterfinal stage there. Now the quarterfinals in mixed doubles is already played today, so let's start by taking a look at the draw here. It was given that Jiang Ziwei and Huang Yaqiong would be top seed and Wang Yilu and Huang Dongping would be the second seed. So the draw was between Ellis and Smith and Watanabe and Higashino as to which part of the draw they were going into. And after those four pairs were decided, then the second place finishes from the group stage were drawn randomly, but they couldn't play the same pair that played in the group. They couldn't play that again in the first match of the knockout stage. So if we take it from the top, Jiang Ziwei and Huang Yaqiong, they're up against Praveen Jordan and Lati Octavianti, and perhaps it's appropriate to get the head-to-head count in, and we can see that the top seeds, the two-time world champions Jiang Ziwei and Huang Yaqiong, they're 7-2 up against Praveen Jordan and Octavianti. It is, however, worth noticing that Jordan and Octavianti, they've won 2 out of the last 3. They won in Denmark 2019 and French the week after, so back-to-back victories for Jordan and Octavianti against the world champions there. And then the last encounter, the most recent encounter, Jiang Ziwei and Huang Yaqiong, they won in the World Tour Finals, but by the narrowest of margins, 22-20 in the decider. So according to the head-to-heads there, it looks decisive for the top seeds, but if you look at it a little bit closer and go into the recent meetings, then it seems like Jordan and Octavianti would have a fair chance. Now this is the stage in the tournament where it's the most difficult in my opinion, because if you lose here, you're out. There's no second chance like in the group stage. If you lose this match, you're out. You don't get to play for the medals. If you win your quarterfinal match, then you have 2 chances of a medal, either winning the semifinal or winning the bronze medal playoffs. So that's really interesting to see how that affects the different players. Praveen Jordan, he is in the same situation he was back in Rio in 2016, played the top seeds there as well. That was his fellow countrymen Liliana Nasir and Tontowi Ahmad. So will it be business as usual, or can the Indonesians lift their game and upset Jiang Ziwei and Huang Yaqiong? Then on to Marcus Ellis and Lawrence Smith, who played so well in the group stage and really brought a lot of energy and determination to the matches. They're going to play Tang Chun Man and Seeing Sweat, who claimed the last spot in Group D, and it's actually the pair from Hong Kong, China, who has the head-to-head advantage over the English pair. I think that's going to be a very tactical match as well. The two left-handers, Tang and Tse, they're very good at playing this soft-paced mixed doubles play. And Tang, he's got a big smash that he is always threatening to use. Over for that is the energy and the movement level and the attacking abilities of Marcus Ellis and Lawrence Smith. So that's also going to be a very, very interesting match, even though it's perhaps perceived as the softer of the 4 quarterfinals. Then it's the home favorites, Watanabe and Higashino, who also happens to be the All England champions. They're up against Pavaranukro and Teira Chanachai, and that's pretty much the winners of the 2021 top tier tournaments. The Thai pair won convincingly on home soil in January, and Watanabe and Higashino won the recent All England in March. It's 1-0 in the head-to-heads, and I don't think that's very significant. It could go either way. Interesting to see whether Puavaranukroh and Tera Chanachai, they've had a little scare against Smith and Ellis and battled nerves, I think, also in that match. Maybe they can let go and let loose now and try to upset Watanabe and Higashino, who has been playing really well, except for that first game in the opening of the Olympic Badminton tournament, where they lost the first game to Danes, Christiansen and Boye. The last of the four quarterfinals, Wang Yilu and Huang Dongping, who had a really, really tough group, in my opinion. Four good pairs. Lamsfus Hertrig played well in this tournament. Chan Peng Soon, Go Liu Ying, the reigning silver medalist from Rio, reigning if you can say that, at least they're the current silver medalist holders, silver medal holders from the 2016 games. They didn't have the best of tournaments, lost all three matches, and I think Go Liu Ying was nursing a small injury. But the matches that I saw, Dongping and Wang Yilu, they were quite convincing. The question mark is, how will the enormity of the situation affect them? This is the match where they need to perform in order to get to play for medals. So Su Jae and Che Yu Jung, well, they haven't really impressed me that much, in my opinion. So I expected to see a little bit more from them in terms of challenge in the group stage, where they were in group with Jiang Siwei and Huang Yachong. Now it looks difficult for them. They are 3-0 down head-to-head. And they have an uphill task, but maybe the same mental situation can play in these matchups. It's a young roster in the quarterfinals, so to speak. We don't have any of the medalists left from Rio 2016. The Adcocks are gone, Matushak, Tsiba, who also were in the quarterfinals there. So it's all inexperienced players, or mostly inexperienced players in terms of Olympic matches. So that's going to be interesting to follow these four matches when they take center stage on Wednesday, the 28th. A lot of the attention in the women's doubles tournament so far has been on Sayaka Hirota's right knee, the top-seeded combination of Hirota and Fukushima. They've clearly struggled in the group stage matches. They made a strong comeback against Cho and Lee from Malaysia, but Gracia Poli and Abriane Rahayo, they got the better of the top seeds in the last group match to top the group. So let's take a look at how the draw unfolded. Poli and Rahayo, of course, took over the top seed from Fukushima and Hirota, and as we can see, Fukushima and Hirota, they were a little bit unlucky in the draw. That is, if they lose the match, if they win it, then it's lucky enough, but they got drawn against the second seed, so a clash between the top seeds and the second seeds already in the quarterfinal stage. That is, of course, going to be a very, very interesting match, and interestingly enough, for Chen Qingchen and Jia Yifan, they drew the only pair of the last 8 that they have a negative head-to-head record against, so they were probably not that satisfied either. Now, Poli and Rahayo, they were drawn against Du and Lee, who, in my opinion, looked really, really good in the first couple of matches, but then ran into a very, very determined Korean combination of Lee So-hee and Shin Seung-chan. They had been given a scare the day before by the Danes, lost that match, and were in real danger of missing out on the quarterfinal stage, the Koreans. So defeated Du and Lee rather comfortably in the second game. I think we're going to see a very tight match here, and I think perhaps the consistency of Poli and Rahayo could become decisive against Du and Lee, who seems a little bit inconsistent. I feel they have a really high top level, but at sometimes they just lose confidence, and they can't afford that if they want to play for the medals here. Lee So-hee and Shin Seung-chan, they've drawn Xiao Zhane and Selena Peak, and I think all the pairs that had the chance wanted to draw the Dutch pair. No offense to them, but they are the lower ranked pair in this quarterfinals draw. The 7 pairs, the 7 highest qualifiers for the women's doubles. So of course a favorable draw for Lee So-hee and Shin Seung-chan. Then in the third quarterfinal, it's the 2-time reigning world champions Matsumoto and Nakahara. They're up against Kim Soo-young and Kong Hee-young, and they have been known to struggle against the Korean pairs, but for Matsumoto and Nakahara, they should take comfort in that it's not Lee So-hee and Shin Seung-chan. They have a considerably better score head-to-head against Kim and Kong, even though they're 3-4 behind. I actually think they've lost the last 3 encounters playing the Koreans, and it hasn't looked solid for the world champions. They've looked shaky both in the match against Honderich and Tsai from Canada, but also in the first game against Peak and Zhane. So if we should point to a possible upset here, then I think that could be the match where we could see one. Fukushima and Hirota, as we can see, they have a lead in the head-to-head against Chen Qingchen and Jia Yifan, but they lost the semi-final in the Asian Games individual tournament that Chen and Jia went on to win, and they also lost in the 2017 World Championship back in Glasgow, lost the final to Chen and Jia. And given the problems for Sayaka Hirota with her right knee, then I'll definitely give the advantage to the Chinese in that last 4th quarterfinal there. So all in all, exciting matches, but it seems like the bottom half of the draw is the tougher one. Judging from the seeds, you have number 1, 2, and 3 seed there, and then Kim and Kong, who won the tournament back here in Musashino Forest Sports Plaza back in 2019. So that's a really, really tough bottom half of the draw there, in my opinion. There's no players in women's doubles doing double duty and having the chance of a doubles, but there is in the men's double and mixed double. That is Yuta Watanabe, who's qualified for the quarterfinals in both categories. Now, as we can see, it's the top seeds, business as usual, Sukamuljo and Gideon, and Asan and Sechewan on the top of the draw, respectively bottom of the draw. It wasn't as easy as it looked, at least not for Sukamuljo and Gideon. They looked to be on cruise control to win the group, but in the last group match they ran into Li Yang and Wang Qilin, who had lost to Rankireddy and Shetty in a brilliant match, 27-25 in the decider, and they needed a win to assure themselves of quarterfinal berth here, and they really started out in quick fashion against the Minions, who looked a little bit, I don't know, it was, I think it was a little bit worrying. They were a little bit hesitant in that match. I know they were certain of progressing to the quarterfinal stage, but I don't think they didn't care whether they finished first or second in the group. A second place finish could have seen them drawn against compatriots Asan and Sechewan. The that is on their hand. They were impressive in the group stage, in my opinion, defeating Aaron Cha and Soho Yik pretty much as usual. You might say they're now 7-1 up in head-to-head against the Malaysians, but also got another win against Seo Seung Jae and Choi So-ju, whom they've had their troubles with in the past. So very impressive by the daddies, who have learned something apparently from the tournament back in Rio, where they crashed out in the group stage. And now I think they become really, really dangerous, because they've been here before and they know the business from quarterfinal stage and onwards in tournaments. Third and fourth seeds also according to the plan. The Twin Towers won their group with a convincing win against Kimura and Sonoda, and Endo and Watanabe just as convincing in their group. So Sukamuljo and Gideon, they're up against Aaron Cha and Suwayik from Malaysia, and according to the head-to-heads, they're 7-0 up. So they've actually only played pairs so far in this tournament that they've never lost to. But as I mentioned, now they've lost to Wang Qilin and Li Yang, so shouldn't be too content with that. They're definitely going to be the favorites, and I actually think it's a reasonably good draw for Gideon and Sukamuljo. They play two players that are just as inexperienced in these kind of situations at majors as they are themselves. The quarterfinal stage has been a troublesome position for Sukamuljo and Gideon, or at least getting past the quarterfinal stage in majors. They succeeded on home soil in the Asian Games, but I think this suits them well to play Cha and So. Now the Twin Towers, they can't be unsatisfied either. They've drawn Astrup and Rasmussen. They're up 7-1 in head-to-heads, and I think Astrup and Rasmussen, in all fairness, is considered the soft spot in this quarterfinal draw. They are the lowest rank combination of the 8 remaining men's doubles teams. Interestingly enough, the only win Astrup and Rasmussen got against Li Junhui and Liu Chen, that came back in 2018 in that tournament back in China, where Astrup and Rasmussen won the China Super 1000 tournament. So who knows, a little bit of nerves and some Danes who gets the feeling that they might be able to replicate that feat from 2018. That could be dangerous. Li Yang and Wang Qilin up against Endo and Watanabe in the third quarter. I think basically Sukamuljo and Gideon, they're quite happy. Li Yang and Wang Qilin got in the opposite half of the draw from them, and there's a chance that they might be able to knock out Endo and Watanabe, who's really caused troubles for the Minions in the past. I look really forward to that match where I think we see the highest level of men's doubles of the 4 quarterfinals. They're very evenly matched, Li Yang, Wang Qilin, and Endo and Watanabe in my opinion. So in the last quarter, it's veterans Kimura and Sonoda. They've played the Olympics before, just as Asan and Sechawan. Can they be the danger men, the two Japanese players? I mean, they're down 2-5 in head-to-heads, but they will play, I hope, without too much pressure, and that could give us a really, really good match, because I think Asan and Sechawan, they've actually hit the form exactly right here at the Olympics in Tokyo. So all in all, some very interesting quarterfinals in all 3 disciplines, and also the singles categories are beginning to gain more interest now as we get closer to the knockout stage as well in those categories. Now here towards the end of this video, I just want to emphasize the change in situation that happened for 2 pairs in the tournament. Lee So-hee and Shin Seung-chan here, they were in dire straits after the loss to Thyssen and Fruergaard, but they got help from Mapasa and and Grania Somerville in the women's doubles, they defeated the Danes, and suddenly Lee So-hee and Shin Jung-chan, they didn't go on court to fight for their life in the tournament. They went on court assured of quarterfinal berth, and they could challenge for the group win. A win they got, and now in the draw, they got a favorable draw against Peak and Seinen. So what a difference 24 hours or 48 hours, I think it was in this case, made for the Korean combination. Suddenly the future looks a lot brighter. And the same goes for the triple champions from the Thailand bubble in January, Wang Qilin and Li Yang. They were in trouble after losing to Rankireddy and Shetty, so they needed to beat the absolutely outstanding number one on the world ranking, Sukamuljo and Gideon, to assure themselves of qualification. And they did that in great fashion, and qualified themselves for the quarterfinal stage. Now they have a shot at medals, playing Endo and Watanabe in the quarterfinals in men's doubles. All in all, the Olympic tournament seems to get better and better, and it's really going to be some interesting days we have ahead of us. This is all for this video, and if you liked it, remember to give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel so you get notified whenever there's new videos up. Matches tomorrow is mixed doubles quarterfinals, and then the last of the group stage matches in men's and women's singles. I hope you enjoy the matches wherever you follow them. Bye for now.